It is loud out there in commercial land. Political ads flooding the airwaves as Election Day nears. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent on 15, 30, or 60-second messages to catch your attention and convince you to vote for one candidate or against another. Sometimes they're dramatic, intense, sensationalized, or downright false. And you should know they are allowed to be false. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that generally false claims made by politicians are protected by the First Amendment. In Ohio, a federal judge struck down a decades-old law prohibiting candidates or outside groups from lying. Judge Timothy Black, an Obama appointee, said in his ruling, the answer to false statements in politics is not to force silence, but to encourage truthful speech in response, and to let voters, not the government, decide what the political truth is. Courts have rejected similar laws in other states. You've also probably seen clips from local or national news segments used in ads, sometimes out of context. It's happened with 13 Action News stories this year. You should also know that campaigns can illegally use those clips without a news station's permission, and that doesn't mean the station endorses that ad or that candidate. Viewers will often ask us if we can take ads with lies off the air. The simple answer is no, even if they're false or graphic. Like one ad airing across ABC stations this week from the Constitution candidate for president. It's about abortion and compares journalists to Nazis. Federal regulations prevent broadcast stations from censoring political ads or rejecting them altogether, as long as they are from legally qualified candidates. It's been said that political ad strategies are like car commercials. They're on every day, but you're not buying a car every day, just like you're not voting every day. But when the time comes to make your decision, the people making these ads hope something you heard in them sways your opinion. But remember, the burden is on voters to decide what the political truth is. And the truth isn't always found in an ad. And that's why it matters. You may have noticed a new ad from Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur that includes a familiar face.
Dirty Derek Marin was caught red-handed lying about Marcy Kaptur.
It's false to say she's only passed one bill over the last 15 years. Let's unpack a few things here in this one that jumps out of the gate with a claim that fails our truth test. That State Rep Derek Marin was caught lying about Marcy Kaptur in a new ad. Now, this ad is not from Marin's campaign. It's from a super PAC, an outside group that's legally prohibited from coordinating with any campaign. And no, campaigns don't legally need to ask news stations for permission before using clips from their broadcasts in their ads. This one goes on to make other claims about Derek Marin, like he raised your taxes or increased your electric bill. On raising taxes, the Kaptur campaign has previously cited the 2023 state budget, which included $3.1 billion in tax cuts and reduced the number of tax brackets to 2. One progressive think tank believed a technical aspect of the changes could increase taxes for some, but that wasn't explicit in the bill. On increasing your electric bill, what's often cited here is Derek Marin's support of House Bill 6, that nuclear bailout bill that was at the center of Ohio's largest public corruption scandal in the state's history and had support from members of both parties. HB 6 did remove energy efficiency rebates for consumers. The Ohio Consumers Council says the bill has also led to increased costs for ratepayers, including on electric bills. As for that claim about Kaptur passing one bill in 15 years, again, we stand by our initial report saying that that claim does not pass our truth test. Although it is true that if you look up her record on Congress.gov, you'll only find one standalone bill that became law in the last decade and a half. But as we've previously reported, many of Kaptur's bills in recent years have passed by being attached to other pieces of legislation, like the Great Lakes Authority Act, which she introduced as a standalone bill but passed by being included in a 2023 spending bill, or another, starting a program to train medical professionals who care for veterans, that passed as part of a larger bill addressing veterans' benefits. And we'll note, too, that those bills and other examples like them are separate from bills she's co-sponsored, where she just signs on to support somebody else's piece of legislation.
Outside groups are already playing a role in Ohio's 9th congressional district race, where Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur looks to fend off a challenge from State Representative Derek Marin. Kaptur's allies are going on offense. Here's Josh Croup with this week's Truth Test.
The official campaign arm of House Democrats is officially jumping into the race to try and help re-elect Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, or DCCC, out with a pair of new ads this week. One talks about State Rep Derek Marin's record on abortion legislation in the State House, which we covered last week. The other focuses in part on his time as the mayor of Waterville.
He cut sick days nearly in half.
And he tried to cut our wages.
Let's start with sick days. This claim goes back to when he was mayor of Waterville in 2011, when he was working to cut the then village's operating expenses. Council and Marin voted to cut the amount of sick time for village workers from 18 to 10 days. The Toledo Blade reported Marin saying at the time some employees banked nearly 3,000 hours of sick time, meaning they could call in sick for a year and get paid. A council member told the paper when employees make a point of banking sick time, it amounts to a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and the cost to the community is enormous. So Marin did vote to reduce sick time days. As for cutting wages, the DCCC cites Marin's support of a right-to-work bill in the Ohio legislature. That bill would have allowed public employees to opt out of joining a union. It's a controversial topic, with supporters arguing the laws protect workers' freedoms and don't have any effect on wages. Opponents, like unions, argue right-to-work laws allow so-called free riders to get benefits of a union contract without paying dues, and they make it harder for workers to collectively bargain for better wages. The bill Marin supported didn't explicitly cut wages, failing our truth test.
Outside of the race for president, Ohio's U.S. Senate contest is on track to be the most expensive U.S. election ever. Outside groups are spending big money on TV ads in the race. 13 Action News reporter Josh Croup puts claims made in some of them to the truth test.
The political ads are flying with less than a month until Election Day from candidates and outside groups aiming to take down their preferred candidate's opponent. Tonight, let's start with a group aligned with Democrats in multiple ads criticizing U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno's family.
Our tax dollars, a Moreno family windfall.
One ad claims money was funneled between Latin American banks and Moreno for him to cash in. This ad fails our truth test because, as NBC News recently reported, it cites an Associated Press story detailing Moreno's Colombian background, the noted political donations his relatives have made to his campaigns, but doesn't draw sharp connections and conclusions like this ad does. Another ad in the race criticizes Senator Sherrod Brown's voting record.
Brown voted to allow transgender biological males to compete in girls' sports.
This is an issue Ohio, of course, is all too familiar with. The state legislature earlier this year passing a law banning transgender athletes from playing girls' sports. It's something we've also seen Congress try to address. This claim cites a proposed amendment to the American Rescue Plan Act. There are more than 500 of them, some technical, others political. This specific one from Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville would have essentially blocked federal money from going to any school that did allow biological males to participate in women or girls sports. Brown voted against that amendment, which failed mostly along party lines. Democrats, including Brown, blocked a similar amendment from Tuberville again earlier this year. This fails our truth test because these votes wouldn't have specifically allowed transgender biological males to compete in girls' sports, just block funding from schools allowing that to happen. A bill that would block transgender athletes from playing girls' sports did pass the Republican-controlled House last year. The Senate hasn't put it up for a vote.
Well, increasing immigrant populations in Ohio cities like Springfield, near Dayton, and in Findlay have created challenges for those communities. Also led to an increase in hate. Here's Josh Croup with Why It Matters.
27-year-old woman allegedly killed and ate a cat in front of people. Another 82-year-old man brutally murdered a kitten. A 27-year-old stabbed his wife's dog. A 25-year-old set 2 puppies on fire. All of them are from Ohio. But of course, that doesn't mean that we should paint a broad picture of Ohioans, that they're out here killing and eating pets, even though they are real people who committed real crimes where there's real evidence and firsthand testimony. Unlike in Springfield, Ohio, where lies about Haitians stealing and eating pets and animals found their way from dark corners of the internet to the presidential debate stage this week.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
What has happened in Springfield is some 15,000 people, largely from Haiti, have settled in the city of 58,000 in the past few years. The Biden administration granted temporary protection status to hundreds of thousands of Haitian immigrants because of widespread violence in the country that's overrun by gangs.
If it was not for a matter of death or life in my country, it would be better to get back.
The administration's program allows them to be in the country legally. Springfield officials say local businesses recruited Haitians to fill jobs that local residents wouldn't take. The influx has caused a strain on local resources.
I can't sit here and say that it's not been difficult to deal with a fast-growing population. You put that strain on any city, their infrastructure is going to feel the weight of it. going to feel the stress of it. People are going to be tired and frustrated.
What has also happened in Springfield, crimes committed against Haitians or because of their presence, like the man sentenced to 20 years in prison for hate crimes against Haitians, or the series of threats this week that have forced the evacuation of government buildings and schools. Haitian families saying they feel under attack as false claims spread, making them feel more unsafe.
It creates a lot of so much panic amongst the Haitian community. As a matter of fact, some of them called me telling me that they feel like leaving the community.
Findlay has also seen an increase in Haitians settling in the city on a smaller scale compared to Springfield, but it's experiencing similar challenges while also seeing similar feelings of resentment expressed toward them. The city's mayor has tried to urge people to show compassion.
Because it's not good for our country to react to immigrants in the way that we are today.
There are real challenges and real concerns that leaders in these communities say need to be addressed, but without hateful and harmful rhetoric, or without painting a broad picture about a group of people. Because what's said and spread on the internet, whether it's real or false, can and does have real life consequences. And that's why it matters. Josh Croup, 13 Action News.